Before American Idol and her other reality TV gigs, Paula Abdul was known for her astonishing choreography, helping choreograph some of Janet Jackson's most popular dance moves, and furthermore helping the Jackson family while on tour. Somewhere in between those moments, she had a record-breaking music career that rivaled many of her contemporaries. She was even given the title of being the pop princess during that time and the queen of dance pop, but quickly reverted back to strictly dancing, and her pop reign was no more. Abdul wasn't necessarily musically inclined, unless it pertained to dancing, and that in many ways attributed to her downfall in music and why she's relatively overlooked when revisiting women in pop music. She was one of the first manufactured superstars in the pop world in the late 80s. It was almost a perfect execution, until the world took notice. She didn't have the best voice, but she did have dance moves, racial ambiguity, and a pristine presentation that she used to her advantage. Abdul wasn't a songwriter either. Combined with her lack of musicality, her image was everything. She was the good girl and had the makeup of one of America's darlings. She was one of the first artists to be signed to Virgin Records. She began crafting her first album, which only took $150,000 to make, which was relatively low during that time. The album sonically was heavily inspired by the New Jack Swing sound that had been made popular by Janet Jackson, which drew a lot of comparisons. Forever Your Girl was eventually released in 1988, but didn't do very well at first, or at all for that matter. In fact, it took 64 weeks to reach number 1 on the Billboard Hot 200, but when it struck gold, it just kept multiplying. It was the most successful debut album of all time during its time, and produced 4 number 1 singles, which was major for any feat, but especially for your debut album. The singles included Opposites Attract and her most famous and referenced song, Straight Up, which spent 3 weeks in the top spot. The album sold 7 million copies in the USA alone, and over 18 million copies worldwide. It won multiple accolades, including a VMA, People's Choice Award, and Grammy for Best Music Video. It was an astonishing accomplishment and very unexpected, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. Singer Yvette Marine, who was a demo vocalist for Opposites Attract, sued Virgin Records claiming that she had sung the lead vocals for this song. This was right around the time that the infamous Milli Vanilli scandal happened, who became known for not singing their own songs, and it was a huge phenomenon which they lost everything they had swiftly. This was not at all a good look for Paula, leading many people to question her musical integrity and capabilities. Yvette alleged that without her permission, the label combined lead vocals of hers with Abdul's in the final version of the song, making it appear as one voice. Ultimately, the jury didn't buy it and rejected Marine's pursuit of compensation and copyright. Abdul was immensely happy that she won the case. She goes on to say, "I feel like the weight of the world has been lifted off my shoulders. I worked hard to get where I am in the business, and I'm proud that Virgin Records fought the case," Paula concluded. Now, the issue at hand was much more complex and subtle at the same time. Paula's vocals were present on the track, so she wasn't lip syncing to anyone else. However, she used the background singer to make her voice sound more prominent, which at this point in time has become an industry standard. Although Paula won the case, the allegations hit the media right around the time her second album, Spellbound, was released, put a slight dent in her sales and a decline from her blockbuster debut. It went on to sell over 7 million copies and achieved 2 number 1 hits, Rush Rush and The Promise of a New Day. The album sonically had a similar sound to her debut and saw Abdul playing safe. She received tons of flack for her 1991 VMA performance of her song Vibology, which was heavily criticized for her vocals and choice of wardrobe. After Spellbound, she went on hiatus to deal with issues of an eating disorder and divorce. She returned to music in 1995 with a critical and commercial failure, Head Over Heels, which showed little progress in her artistry. She soon quit music and returned to dancing and re-emerged as a reality TV personality on shows like American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance. Abdul today is still being sampled by many artists such as j.cole, and definitely made some classic hits. And she now even has her own Vegas residency with some amazing dance moves, outdancing a lot of young stars, I must say. However, it's clear that she was simply a product of her time, a massive commercial debut perfectly crafted. And then gradually, with every album, it became more and more clear that Abdul lacked many essential things that artists with prominent and impactful legacies had. The drive to be an everlasting figure in music and wanting to have any innovation just wasn't apparent. Not to say that Paula had no impact, she did. She proved that dancers could do more than just dance and are profitable within the music industry as well, which prompted the rise of stars like Jennifer Lopez. But it was always clear that she was a dancer first and left no true imprint on music besides the nostalgia of yesteryear's hits.